And welcome to Talking Point Blank. Now, let's talk about how real is this ISIS threat in India. And why I'm talking about ISIS is because just a few days ago, Delhi police first busted a cell of ISIS terrorists who were planning to carry out IED attacks uh, throughout the country. Especially in the national capital, or in the second phase, NIA also arrested a extended part of the same module from Andhra Pradesh. And this is not the first time we have seen ISIS operatives being arrested from one part or another part of the country, who have been conspiring for Ghazwa-e-Hind and Khilafat, and looking at setting up India as a Islamic Caliphate. So where does this start from? How real this threat is, how real this threat is, and where all this is coming from is very, very important. And for that, we will have to understand that this phenomena of ISIS in India is not new. Now, it is not a very simple thing. It is not something which just emanates from Pakistan and ends from Pakistan. There is a huge background to it. And the background actually starts from Kerala. And why I'm talking about Kerala is because if there is one organization that really strengthened the ideology of ISIS in India, that is PFI, which was banned in 2018 or I think 2019, if I'm sure it was 2018. Banned by the government of India in 2018 for being a organization which was detrimental to the national security. But what was PFI? Who were the people behind PFI, and what was PFI aspiring to do? Now we have to understand how PFI operated. PFI was basically an organization whose founding members were also the members of, if you remember, in 1990s there used to be a extremist organization, which is a proscribed terror organization now called SIMI and Indian Mujahideen. So people who were very closely associated with SIMI and were at the top positions in SIMI were the same ones who actually set up PFI. Three main names were there. One was P. Koya, one was E. Abu Bakr, and we also had E. M. Abdul Rahman. Now all these three were very closely associated with very closely associated with SIMI and Indian Mujahideen, and then they set up PFI and they started operating PFI. So PFI was really nothing but, you can say, a rebranded, a refurbished, a refurnished organization, or an extended SIMI, which was allowed to operate for X number of years. I mean, literally for more than a decade. And their stated goal was to basically, create Islamic rule in India and to fight rising Hindu so-called nationalism. But what is important is that PFI basically came out of a merger of three very important organizations, which were local organizations, religious radical organizations, and one of them was NDF, which is called Nadapuram Defense Force. Now, basically, how NDF came into force is because Nadapuram, which is an area in Malabar area of Kerala, it saw a very sustained kind of violence from the left activists. So the lefts were the ones who would, keep on inciting violence in and around Nadapuram all through the 90s and 2000s, attacking the Muslim community there and creating havoc there. And to save themselves from this sustained left political violence, which the residents and the people of Nadapuram thought they should do, they formed an organization called NDF, Nadapuram Defense Force, wherein they started actually organizing themselves and then fighting, or you can say laying off this LDF's sustained attack on different parts of Kerala on the Muslim population. So basically it was the clash of the left and the Muslims which formed NDF. But what it later shaped itself into is becoming, an anti-Hindu and anti-India kind of an organization, where the left's violence and left's, all the follies were forgiven, and their target became the rest of the country. The target became the majority Hindu population. Now, how did that happen? We all know how left operates, and the way left has always been co-opting the radical Islamist forces for their own political furtherance. So that is exactly what happened behind the scenes as well. So these three organizations basically came together and found something called PFI. And PFI, as I said, the founding members of PFI were basically of same ones who were from SIMI and Indian Mujahideen. So this PFI had a very sinister way of working. And it became quite popular also because the kind of radicalization PFI carried out, it has it's driven by a hardcore Salafi Wahhabi kind of a, theology and mindset, you can say. And it's very hardcore. And I myself have been in Kerala. I've extensively worked on this network, and I have, lived in Kerala for some time and just tried to understand and just try to get the grasp of how deep this rot in the society was. And beyond shocking, I can tell you, it is beyond shocking. And there are multiple factors about it. It is just not about radicalization, or it is not about these terrorists or these extremists trying to radicalize people. This is a complete there is a complete plan behind it. And PFI does have a document called Vision 2047 document, which clearly stated that by 2047 they wanted to change India into a Khilafat and into a Islamic country, Ghazwa Hind, what we call it. We have heard this Ghazwa Hind from Afghanistan also, from Pakistan also, and within India also. And PFI was an active proponent of that. So the PFI carried out these activities, and the thing is that PFI was able, PFI had a very different structure. It had a political structure called SDPI, which still exists. SDPI still works in Kerala as a political party. It had a students' wing, different students' wing. We have seen in Keralafiles. If you've seen that movie, you will get an idea of what I'm talking about. All these hardcore Islamic organizations like Jamaat-e-Islami, they would co-opt all of them. They would sit across with different, theological school of thoughts of people who might not even come from Jamaat background or from some other, background, and they would sit with them, they would coerce them, they would convince them, and they try to form this one big, large consensus that Islam is the way forward in life, and religion comes first, country comes second. And that is where they have been very, very successful, because they propagated this ideology right from schools and colleges to the offices, to the social circles, to the mosques, pretty much everywhere. And they used every technique for this. Obviously, they had huge funding coming in from different parts of the world, and I'll talk about it going forward. But, we saw religious conversions happening in Kerala. They were a part of the plan. They always were a part of the plan. We have seen people, the Muslim community in Kerala completely shifting its social milieu, which we say the social culture. A Keralite, if you see a Keralite, he'll be wearing a mundo and a shirt. But if you go to the areas like Malappuram, you go to the areas like Kasagod, you go to the areas, basically the whole Malabar belt, it's very difficult at times to distinguish whether you're standing in an Arabian land or an Indian land, because, the kind of attire they wear is completely Arabic. The kind of language they try to emulate is Arabic. The food they eat is very Arabic. Even the shops, and that surprised me a lot, the shops had their boards in Arabic, not in English, not in Hindi, and definitely not in Malayalam. So most of the shops had either names in Malayalam and Arabic, or mostly English and Arabic. Even Malayalam was missing. So this fetish of being very close to the Arab lineage and being an Arab is something, this cultural thing is something which was beyond shocking to me when I went there. And, I could see that a majority of, you can say, Keralite populace had weaned away from their traditional social milieu and adopted and embraced this Arabic culture, which is completely Arabic in nature, which is totally alien to the Indian culture. Now, many debates with the so-called intellectuals of Keralites, I had, and they were like, no, this is because a large part of population of Kerala lives in the Middle East, in the Gulf. That is why this is a cultural exchange. But my whole argument was based on exchange happened two ways. Show me the Arabs wearing a mundo and a shirt, and I'll buy your argument for saying that it's a cultural exchange. It's basically is a cultural adoption when it comes to me. But anyway, that is a different debate to happen. So I want to come back to PFI and what PFI was basically up to. So 22 states in India, especially the southern part of the state, riding right from Kerala, going to Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, right up to Hyderabad, then to West Bengal, Assam, Tripura, the northern states, the northern belt. PFI had very successfully over the years increased its footprint in those areas and carried out lots of activities. Their madrasas were running, their charity organizations were running, their NGOs were running, their political parties were active on the ground. Pretty much you talk about every reach an organization tries to make on the ground multi-foray. They were trying to do that and they were onto that. So that is what PFI was basically able to do. But PFI had very, very huge links. Now, there are people sitting in PFI or supporters of PFI who basically are not supporters of PFI, I would say, but huge supporters of Salafi Wahhabism, which is very prevalent in the southern belt of India, and which have links in Qatar. So there are schools, there are people who literally there's one guy I know whose name is M.M. Akbar. He runs Peace International Schools, about 12 or 14 schools in the Kerala, and it's radical ideology. He's actually known as Zakir Naik of Kerala because that is the kind of ideology he carries and that is what he teaches in his schools. So this kind of social invasion, this kind of cultural invasion, this kind of intellectual invasion, and this kind of coercion, I would say on the larger terms, is something which really, really changed the face of the society. So basically, if you look at behind the whole facade of this Islamic radicalization and caliphate, is the heart lies in Pakistan. That is where this all starts, because Pakistan has been for decades now trying to perpetrate terrorism into India from one form to another form. And this is a much more complex problem than direct intervention into Jammu and Kashmir through the LOC. And why I say that is because if you look at it, there are multiple interests and multiple pictures at play here. And what are they is one is, of course, Pakistan. The roots of it is in Pakistan, but these roots extend right till Middle East, till Saudi, till Qatar, till Middle Eastern countries. Now, why is that those roots expanded to them is that one, the ISI operates through the Middle East, knowing that there is a huge influence of these Middle Eastern countries. People are hugely influenced of these Middle Eastern countries, and these organizations have been working in the facade of Gulf money and a lot of hawala which happened from the Gulf to fund these activities. PFI also maintained very, very close ties with organizations like Hizb ut-Tahrir. Now, what is Hizb ut-Tahrir? Is the one which is basically now in power in Syria, Al-Jawlani, previously AQI, Al-Qaeda in Iraq's commander, and also radical Islamist. They had a relationship with HTS. They had relationship with Al-Qaeda. They had relationship with ISIS. They had relationship with Muslim Brotherhood. So this whole facade of changing India into a global khilafat basically comes from the Muslim Brotherhood ideology, and that is what makes it difficult also, that is what makes it dangerous also, and that is what also makes it multinational operation which is being carried out in India from different parts of the world, because we know how Muslim Brotherhood has been able to effect changes, regime changes, not only in the Middle East. They have created upheaval there, but they've also created upheaval in our neighborhood, Bangladesh, for instance. Number one, we have seen Muslim Brotherhood's influence with the United States and the way US has very, very closely worked with the Muslim Brotherhood in the Middle East, especially, Morsi, when he came into power, it was the Americans who got Muslim Brotherhood into power in Egypt. So that collusion is also there. Then you have these Islamic organizations and these Islamists who are sitting in Qatar and Turkey and other parts of Middle East who really, really want, who envision the globe to be an Islamic caliphate and an Islamic country. Turkey is also a part of it. So you have these different countries with a lot of interest colluding with Muslim Brotherhood. Now, Muslim Brotherhood is also something which Hamas carries out, right? Which is a proponent of Hamas. Now, they handle Hamas as well. So you have these links with Hamas organizations as well. Then you have links with Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed in Pakistan. So this makes it a very, very dangerous proposition. And this is not something which is, this kind of influence is not something which is limited only to a certain geographical part of Kerala. This is something which has gone beyond Kerala, right into the southern part of India, till the borders, our eastern borders, both at Nepal, where the Terni region is there, the Terai region, which we call about. We have seen a huge population shift in Terai region from 3% in 1991 to 90% now. Is the population change which has happened in the Terai region of Nepal. So the Nepal border is something, and these people were the ones who had recently been caught, were basically looking at smuggling arms via Jadda to Nepal, from Nepal to India. So the Terai region is a big threat for this kind of infiltration. So is the Bangladesh border, because from Bangladesh border we have seen these threats emanating, and Bangladesh is one place where organizations like Ansarul Bangla ATB, organizations like ATB, organizations like ISIS, or organizations like this Ghazwa-e-Hind have been very prevalent from more than a decade now, and especially from the last decade they have been very, very active. Obviously ISI has worked its ass off really hard, sorry to use that word, but really hard in Bangladesh to convert Bangladeshis into radical Islamists, which are very which are exactly the mirror image of the Pakistanis living in Pakistan, to be honest. So how dangerous this ISIS threat is can be assessed from the penetration of these organizations, the funds that is available to them, the kind of support that is available to them, the political backing that is, international political backing that is available to them. And this is not a threat which is, which emanates from a soul mind sitting in India, a perverted mind sitting in India, or a perverted cell. This is something which is being rearing its head for a very long time. Don't forget that there were over 100 people alone from Kerala traveled to Syria to join the Caliphate movement. And I'm not pointing out Kerala here. I'm not pointing out the Keralites here. I'm just telling you that where it all started from, where this ideology of Salafism actually emanated in the Indian Muslims. And, what makes ISIS very, very dangerous, and why I'm saying it's dangerous, it's not something, of course, there's tons of literature which is available, which you can read and understand how dangerous and how perverted and how twisted an ISIS radicalized mind is. But it is also of my first-hand experiences with a few of people who had joined this organization and were caught by the security forces. My own interviews with them is something which gave me a glimpse inside their mind. And I can tell you for a fact that me, who's been tracking terrorism for a very long time, if once you have been touched by ISIS, if once you have been radicalized by ISIS, it is very, very difficult to de-radicalize that kind of a person. To come back to a normal fold is going to be extremely difficult. That is why ISIS is one of the most dangerous terror organizations in the world, because they would just not stop. And globally, from UK citizens to European citizens, nobody is willing to take those citizens back into their fold just because they know it is beyond repair to get them back into normal social life. That is how dangerous this ideology is, and that is why it is also very attracted to people who are from upper middle class families. Now, there are a lot of people who have the money, who have the resources. Sri Lankan bombers are number one. We know they had billions of dollars. There was no reason for them to become terrorists, but since they became terrorists. So, these are the kind of people ISIS actually focuses on. And these are the kind of people actually ISIS trains on. And it's not an on-ground radicalization which ISIS does. There are n number of Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts. This case was also about, radicalization through Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Signal. They have handlers who identify, and there are stages where, they keep a recruit going from one stage to another stage till the last stage. And if he goes till the last stage, he's prepared to do terror attacks. The problem with ISIS is the ISIS terror attacks are shock and awe terror attacks. So you might be able to prevent 100 or 120 terror attacks or maybe 1,000 terror attacks. But if one terror attack slips through, the results could be devastating because it has a potential to be a big terror attack. We've seen what happened in Sri Lanka recently. Well, not recently, a few years ago, but that's a very recent ISIS attack. Uh, I'm not trying to scare somebody here. I'm not trying to say that, we are on the verge of something which is very, very bad. But I'm just telling you this threat of ISIS in India is very, very real. And the way security agencies are trying to curb it and are working on it is a commendable job. Till now, they have not given them a breather to surface, to plan to an extent where they could have executed something. They have been nipping them in the bud time and again. But the more volatility we are going to see in Bangladesh, the more volatility we are going to see in Myanmar, the more volatility we are going to see in Nepal, this all gives a breather for organizations like ISIS to carry out their agenda in India. And as far as the terror threats is, and it's very, very difficult also. It's very, very difficult also to, track this ISIS terror threat directly back to Pakistan, because there are so many global players involved. There are so many global linkages involved that it's not that like a Lashkar-e-Toiba or a Jaish-e-Mohammed whose headquarters are in Pakistan, in Muridke and in Bhavalpur, and it's very easy to pinpoint saying that they are sitting there, they have done it. It's very, very difficult to nail Pakistan if an ISIS gets its head reared again in India. It's going to be extremely difficult. In that case, it's going to be extremely difficult to point at Bangladesh also, unless until you have direct evidences of Bangladeshi trying to carry out its attacks. And the fear is that the illegal immigration which happens through Bangladesh, there will be a lot of Rohingyas and Bangladeshis who already are radicalized to a point where they would be easy fodder for ISIS to carry out even a small attack onto them. So this makes the situation very, very dangerous. But saying that, it's not that, the things are at the worst and, we are somewhere where we have lost, we're going to lose hope because ISIS has penetrated so deep. ISIS has tried over the years to come into India and to create a furor in India. It has tried its best to, send jihadis not only from Bangladesh but from within India as well, from other parts of the body. We saw ISIS raising head in Jammu and Kashmir, but was swiftly eliminated by the security forces. So it's not that JKIS, Jammu Kashmir Islamic State, was the name of the organization. So it's not that ISIS has not been trying to rear its head in India. It's been trying to rear its head in India for more than a decade now. But as I said, the security agencies are literally on their heels and they're doing a commendable job with it. But the threat in coming years from ISIS is real, and it is not only real to India. What is happening in Middle East and what is happening in Gaza and the way Pakistanis are getting involved there will be a resurgence of ISIS happening in Europe. There will be a resurgence of ISIS happening in Syria. There will be a resurgence of ISIS happening in other parts of the world. And that resurgence of ISIS is obviously going to be in India as well. We are going to see some activities which might slip through the security net and cause some damage in India. So, to be on the let's say on the other side, organizations like PFI have been banned. But the problem with these organizations, just like Jamaat-e-Islami in Kashmir, you might ban the organization, but what do you do with the members? The members are still there. The second and third ring members are still there. They still carry out their work. They still go into the society. They still carry out these jobs. SDPI still is running as a political identity. And, a lot of people have argued with me saying that SDPI has political ambitions. I say, no, SDPI might not have political ambitions. They know that politically they cannot win the seats required to be in real power. But at the end of the day, it is a charade. It is a facade where they are, they allow themselves to go and travel to different parts of the country as a political party, and then they engage and they recruit people. They look for the right people and they engage with them and they recruit them and they convince them, and that is a real danger. I remember we had a SDPI Ijtima happening in Nizamuddin in last December. There was a huge SDPI Ijtima, and there were a lot of people from South India who had come and attended that Ijtima. Ijtima is basically a gathering. So we had an SDPI, you can say, conference in Delhi as well. So, when these organizations under political facade operate the way they operate, it becomes very, very difficult then to keep a track of what they're up to and tell where their rot lies. But the threat from ISIS indeed is very real. It is, I think, one of the biggest threats India faces apart from Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. in coming years, I think it's going to replace the threat from LAT and JASH. LAT and JASH might only operate in Jammu and Kashmir, but for the rest of India, ISIS is going to be a problem. It's going to be a real threat. And I think the security agencies, the way they are carrying out their task against ISIS is commendable, as I already said. And I have full faith that, they will be keeping this kind of threat veered off from our borders, whether it is Bangladesh, it is Nepal, it is Pakistan. This threat is going to be minimized. But the real threat lies in the ideology, and that ideological battle is something we all will have to fight to keep this threat away. And this ideological battle doesn't just emanate from within India, but it emanates from different parts of the globe, right from US to the Middle East, to Pakistan, to within India. So I hope you liked this video, and if you liked this video, kindly share it, subscribe, ask your friends and family to subscribe to the channel, help me grow this channel. You can contribute by becoming members from Super Chat, Super Thanks. If you have questions, I'll be happy to take those questions. If you want me to do a follow-up on this, doing more of an explanation and laying threadbare what exactly you want to know, please leave it in the comment section. I'll be happy to take that question from there as well. I hope again that this was informative for you, and I hope to see you next again very soon. Till then, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.